Hello, college football fans. Welcome to episode 76 of College Football Throwdown. I'm your co-host, Alex Schmitz, and today I'm joined by my dad, Peter Schmitz.
Hello, college football fans and Husker fans.
Yes, welcome everybody. Sadly, we do not have brother AJ with us this time like we did on the last podcast, just dad and I for this one. But we are here today to talk about the results of the South Alabama game with Nebraska, as well as some of the national results from week one and previewing what's to come for both Nebraska and the national college football scene.
Sounds like a good time.
That's right. Yep. For those of you who are listening to us for the first time, this is College Football Throwdown, a college football podcast by college football fans for college football fans. And before we dive into our main discussion, as is our tradition, I've got the beer to crack this time, which I will do right now.
And what kind is it, my son?
Well, I am cheating a little bit. It's not actually a beer. This is Angry Orchard hard cider.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
All right. So tell us a little bit about Angry Orchard. What's that?
You've never had Angry Orchard?
Oh, I have. I'm just wanting you to brag about it a little bit.
Well, they had this. It's a rosé apple flavor, which I hadn't had before, so I want to try something a little different. I actually brought this with me to the Hollywood Bowl, along with some Corona on Saturday to go see John Williams. They let you bring food and drink into the event.
Wow, that's cool. Mm-hmm. And John Williams being the music behind Star Wars, right?
Well, the composer behind Star Wars and Indiana Jones and most of Steven Spielberg's films. So, yeah.
Right.
Kind of
cool.
a big deal.
Yeah, kind of a big deal. And does he still got it? The old man still has it?
Oh, of course he does. That's not a question. You would have liked it. They did a lot of Star Wars stuff, obviously, and some of his bigger stuff. But they did one bit where they played the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan, like up on the big screen with the orchestra playing live. Wow,
that is cool.
Yeah,
that is cool. Mm-hmm. So he did that one too, huh?
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, pretty much all of Steven Spielberg's films, just about.
Okay, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Learned something new today.
Yes. Well, I am calling you from the 65th latitude, 65, just a little short of the Arctic Circle, and right from the basically the entrance to Denali National Park in about 2.5 hours north of Talkeetna, Alaska.
Wow, that's cool. So we're going to dive into the South Alabama game, first of all, the first game that Nebraska played. And on our previous podcast, we gave our score predictions for how we thought the game would turn out. You said you predicted a score of 52-24. Uncle AJ said 55-14. And then I said 49-21. So all of us kind of predicting that the offense was going to be able to score without too much effort. But as it turns out, the game wasn't quite the way that we thought it was going to be. The final score was 35-21.
Correct. And you're right. We all predicted a little bit higher running scores for that game, and the offense was a fraction of what we expected it to be. So that's a bit of a problem for us as we look to the future, and certainly I think caused most Nebraska fans to be a little surprised, a little flat-footed on what we were expecting offensively. Defense had its moments. Some positive things happened, obviously, but I think in general that score was underwhelming.
Yes, to say the least. Now, I will say that when we were when I was originally thinking about what the score was going to be, I was thinking something lower on the last podcast, but then AJ talked about how they were like a 3-8 team and their defense was terrible last year, so that kind of made me inflate the score a bit. Didn't quite turn out that way. I think one of their fans online was saying that their defensive line is like the best part of their team currently, because they have a true freshman. I don't know if he was a true freshman, but he was at least a freshman quarterback.
Right. And
And,
so there was a lot of unknowns about him, but he played very, very well. And I think he's going to be a
well,
stud.
he played solid, yeah. There definitely were some there were some passes where he kind of overthrew it, and then some where his receivers just kind of dropped them. So there were definitely some.
Correct. But I would say it was mostly his receivers dropping them. I felt like for a freshman quarterback having his first start, he did quite well.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and on the reverse side of things, apparently people were already started to talk up Adrian in terms of a potential Heisman discussion and all this sort of stuff. And he came out pretty flat-footed and not playing super confident. Now, the offensive line playing poorly and not giving him much time to get back in the pocket to make decisions certainly didn't help matters. But he definitely felt like he was not in a comfortable, confident place pretty much the whole game.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Now, in terms of this game and what went wrong, so to speak, for Nebraska is I think there's so many things that can be learned, but the one that jumps out to me is Adrian. We've talked so much about how mature he is, and of course there was the Heisman talk and all this, and because he had performed so well and so consistently and seemed to be on an upward trajectory, especially the whole second half of last season. But he took a huge step back, in my opinion, in this game. Was extremely indecisive. Held onto the ball way too long. There were a number of plays where, frankly, he had enough time and should have been able to go through a reasonable number of his progressions and then make a decision and either throw the ball out of bounds or attempt to throw it to a receiver that was open. But he seemed to not be able to do that. And now I know that one major mitigating circumstance was the difficulty with the snaps. And it just shows the critical importance of the center. And that was a discussion, Adam, in our previous podcast. We all acknowledged it, but we all were very hopeful that the offensive center position would be solidified here by somebody stepping up. And at this point, I would have to say our team hasn't had that happen yet. And without a center that you can be confident in, that quarterback has a lot on his mind already, and now he's got even more.
Right. Yes, well, and I believe it was specifically after the awful high snap that set us back 20 yards and making us basically be in a third and forever situation. After that, they replaced Juergens with someone else at center.
Right, Will Farniok, who had taken most of the snaps in that spot during fall camp, and that's the thing is we've got two young players there. Will is a redshirt freshman, and so is Cameron Juergens. So our both of our centers, they're getting most of the reps at this point. All of the reps so far in the games are both redshirt freshmen, and neither of them has the strength or the experience to secure the job and seize the job overall. There's just so much going on there, and they destroyed Adrian's timing in the process and his confidence, and I think it really disrupted and threw him for a loop. So I can guarantee you that's going to be an issue going forward for the rest of the year until our center position gets solidified or we are able to adjust our blocking schemes to give them some help so that they can focus on just getting the ball snapped.
Mm-hmm. Now, and one thing one of the announcers was talking about, which I did find interesting, was he was talking about Adrian's throwing motion. I think he was describing it as like a 3/4 motion. Basically how it has some good zip on the ball, but doesn't like have that arc where it like drops into a receiver's hands. And there were a couple of passes where he was kind of trying to get it to go like that, and it didn't quite happen for him.
Correct. He has a tendency to overthrow receivers in that situation because his throwing motion doesn't lend itself to allowing yourself to kind of throw a ball up and over the top of somebody and drop it in to a receiver. His trajectory tends to be lower than that because of his arm position, and they're working to try to improve that.
Mm-hmm. Right. So that's definitely something to keep our eyes on throughout the year. Did in your research, did you find out what the situation is in terms of our kicking game, in terms of our field goal kicker and all that?
Yes, it's my understanding that all they've shared with us is that our starting kicker Pickering has what they call a soft tissue injury that kept him from being able to kick this past week. But they are hopeful that he will be available and ready for the Colorado game. So I don't know if a soft tissue injury could mean something like a hamstring. It could mean a hangnail on one of his toes. It could mean any number of things related to that, to his foot and his leg that kept him from being able to swing freely without pain, And so they just wanted to manage it and be conservative with it in the hopes that giving it a week off would allow it to heal and get him in a position where he's ready to kick this week. But it didn't sound like it was, season threatening or anything like that, at least at this point.
Okay. Well, good. Well, that's good to hear because the kicking game we had in this game was not great. So
that is true.
So we definitely want to see some improvement there.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing is the whole team. I think the whole team, particularly offensively, but I say it even extended to defense as well, played very tentatively because we weren't. I think our team went into this game expecting to dominate it, having looked at this South Alabama club and looked at their performance last year, and I'm sure they watched some film about it, even though he had some changes and realized that you know what, they aren't as good as us, and they went out there and we played kind of like we thought we were going to be able to control everything, and they showed right away that our offensive line was not going to be moving them anywhere, and we could not get a push if our life depended on it, and frankly damn near lost the game in my opinion because of that inability to move the line of scrimmage,
right?
Particularly offensively.
Right. Well, on our last podcast, kind of the narrative was that we expected the offense to perform well, we put 50 plus points on them, things like that. But then the question was like, how good would our defense be? How aggressive would be? AJ near the end even mentioned like how many turnovers are they going to get? How many points will the defense score? It turned out that was what saved the game for us essentially, with the defense scoring 14 points off of turnovers and getting some additional turnovers that did lead directly to points, but put us in a good position or stop them when they were in scoring position, as well as our one special teams touchdown. That's what ended up saving the day for Nebraska.
Right. Absolutely correct. And that was great to see, but I still saw some deficiencies on our defense. I saw us be a team that could not get pressure on their quarterback without bringing extra players, meaning that we run our standard defense is a 3-4 or a 4-3, depending on personnel groupings, and mostly 3-4. And our defensive line that we spent all fall camp hearing great things about did a solid job against the run, but was unable to get pressure and on the quarterback. And none of our defensive linemen really did anything all that impressive from rushing the passer standpoint, and so we were forced to blitz, and we used a large variety of blitzes in this game, which I'm sure our coaches were hoping we wouldn't have to do, but we were forced to do it to make sure we won the football game.
Mm-hmm. Right, and definitely did play dividends. I remember there were a few situations where we blitzed hard and they picked it up and they scored, or got the first down as a result. But then there were several big tackles, sacks on the quarterback, where our guys just went totally unblocked, and you got a nice big
Right,
hit in there.
right, exactly, and that's great and everything. But I would caution us to be optimistic about that, because I would rather have us been able to play a much more standard type of defensive scheme, and and be able to get enough pressure on the quarterback that he was still being forced to throw it in some reasonable amount of time. What I witnessed was guys basically neutralizing their offensive line but not dominating it. And this is a team that was one of the worst teams statistically, as AJ pointed out last week. So those are not good indicators for the current status of our team. Doesn't mean we can't get better and be good, but it certainly has caused me to reassess, the current status of our team and where it is right now and where we can reasonably expect it to be in, the next few weeks.
Right. Yeah, I think, some part of the fans always has to have in the back of their mind that whenever the coaches are talking about all the improvement they're seeing in practice and how good everybody is, etc., some of that is no doubt true, but they're also probably playing certain things up because they obviously want to keep a positive spin on things for the media, have everybody feeling good about the program. They're not going to say, oh, we suck at safety, like
Right.
they don't want to
Well,
reveal that to everybody.
But Alex, I would say, and I would want to kind of go on record through the podcast here to say that I think that's something that Coach Frost and his staff are going to have to learn how to manage better. And that is they need to manage expectations. If they're going to be so incredibly tight on giving media access to practices, which they have basically choked it off, right? The media gets access to the first 30 minutes or maybe 40 minutes of practice a couple of days a week. And in fact, only a few times in the entire month of August's camp for them to actually see the team. And so the media is flying dark. They only know what they're being told by people who are insiders. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's a problem. If you want to control the message that way, you damn well better make sure that message isn't overly optimistic.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And that's kind of a PR thing for them to work out. The kind of the series that kind of summed up this whole game for me is when South Alabama punted and J.D. Spielman caught the punt and had a great return back for a touchdown. It was great. Everyone's cheering. The crowd's back into it again. And then in the next series, our defense does a good job. South Alabama has to punt it, and he signals for a fair catch and then muffs the catch, and the ball goes out, and South Alabama picks it up and is able to get the ball on the 20-yard line and score in a couple plays. So it was kind of like that duality of score amazing touchdown run, muff punt, give them an easy score. That was kind of how the game felt to me.
Right. I think you're right, and that's the thing is that it just shows how far we still have to go. We got a long way to go. The potential, there's potentials there, but I saw so many defensively. I saw missed tackles all over the place, which indicates to me that as much as they tried to be physical in fall camp, and they said that they were being physical, the fact is that based on what I observed from the team, it doesn't look like they've spent a whole hell of a lot of time on tackling. And they damn well better this week, because if they think that they're going to be able to hit, the big, strong, and athletic wide receivers of Colorado, the way they were trying to just go and knock people with, flying in like a missile and hitting somebody with a shoulder, which ended up causing one of our players to get injured because he was an idiot and didn't come in with proper form and technique. And he's lucky he's not, got his neck ripped off or, paralyzed or something, because the dummy ended up getting, dinged pretty significantly in his shoulder neck area because he didn't wrap up. And so some real fundamental miscues there, in my opinion. And that's just one example. Wide receivers running wide open. I mean, just a lot of mistakes. Now, first game, we're a young team, young leadership, new leadership, I should say, as well as young leadership. And so, you like to think that you're going to see a lot of improvement between the first game and the second game. But what I saw in the first game created way more questions and doubts for me than it gave me confidence.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Now, there were some bright spots. Like I'm blanking on the player's name on defense, but he like got at least one sack on the quarterback, and also made some good tackles for loss. Was really playing well.
Yeah, there were a number of players. JoJo Doman may be the player you're thinking about there. He flashed almost 4 or 5 times. Lamar Jackson, one of our corners, came on a corner blitz undetected and sacked the quarterback, caused him to lose the football, and we were able to score on that. Alex Davis recovered a fumble in the end zone, so we got a score that way. And then Eric Lee intercepted 2 passes, and I think there was at least one more that I'm not immediately thinking about. But Eric Lee had 2 interceptions, one of which he was a pick six, which we hadn't had a pick six all last year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
very true.
That was a big deal.
Yep.
Yeah, that was it. Those are great positive signs. But Eric was playing because of the injury to one of our starters, who is the guy I was just describing that went in like a missile with his head not properly positioned and without proper wrapping technique. He just did not play well fundamentally in terms of tackling, and I saw a lot of that. And so I'm hoping that this week that Nebraska's doing 3 key things as they prepare for their next game. And those 3 things would be practicing tackling, that all of our centers are just practicing snaps at ridiculous rates so that they all can get a level of confidence, and that Adrian Martinez can get a level of confidence that they're going to actually snap the ball and he doesn't have to worry about focusing on getting the snap instead of focusing on his reads and his pre-snap reads and all those kinds of things, so that he can be confident. And Adrian needs to just relax and recognize that he can't do that. He can't let all the external pressures get to him. I think all the preseason hype about Adrian affected him. I think he was not himself on this game. So I'm hoping that's a 1-game aberration and not some kind of a step back as he tries to take the step forward as the team's leader.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, and one thing to take some solace in is that at least we didn't lose the game, unlike some other teams that played in week 1 that did get upset to much worse teams, and even Clemson, who won their game handily. But I read that Trevor Lawrence really had a bad game, kind of similar to Adrian, and we all know from last year's national championship game how amazing he is. So everyone has an off day every now and again, but it's, can you bounce back from it?
Exactly. I totally agree. I think we need to see, us, rebound. It's a little easier to rebound when you didn't lose, right? You played poorly, but you didn't lose.
Yes, that certainly helps. Just a couple more things I wanted to mention. Obviously, the South Alabama coaching staff did a pretty good job in terms of prepping their guys for our schemes and kind of coming in with a good game plan. But I really do not understand when their quarterback had to step out for one play because his helmet came off. Their backup came in, and instead of just handing the ball off to their running back and maybe getting 0 yards, but, getting out of there alive, they had the backup quarterback throw a pass that was immediately picked off by us. That was a total bonehead mistake to me.
Well, I would agree because you're generally a conservative guy, and if you coach, you would be described as a conservative coach. But if you're a coach like this guy, he's looking at it and saying, "Listen, I've got a Power 5 program potentially on the ropes." I think at that point in time we may have only been winning by 7 points, and it was I don't remember the exact time of the game that particular play was, but it was late in the third quarter or maybe even early fourth of what you're describing. And so I'm sure he was looking at it and saying, "Hey, I got a second string quarterback for a reason. That guy has to be able to do that. He has to be able to step up when called. And what better time to test whether he's that guy, whether he's the guy that can be that second stringer that comes in and immediately is able to take the reins, or is he not? Now, so I wouldn't argue that the coach made a mistake in having a pass play, because that's a big part of their offense, right? And they weren't having great success running the football. They were averaging less than 2 yards a carry against us on the ground. Mm-hmm. And it was, if I remember correctly, it was a third down, or it was a second and very long. But what I would argue with, and I would agree with you, was a bonehead decision on their part, was for them to call a pass play in which one of the primary receivers was running a deep out, meaning a pattern that requires the quarterback to throw the ball a long way sideways, basically, right? Where he's throwing the ball to a guy who's 10, 12 yards down the field and then has gone out to the sidelines on the wide side of the field. So, for a 10-yard gain, you're throwing the ball maybe 45 yards, the quarterback is. And to make that your first throw, that's tough. If they had instead thrown some little curl route that was a 6-yard gain type of thing and hope that the guy can make a guy miss or something to get the desired yardage, that would have been a safer and more reasonable choice, in my opinion.
Yeah. I hear you there, and I guess I am conservative, but I definitely would have gone with just give it to the running back route.
Right.
One note I did find interesting when I was looking at the stats for the game, they ended up having 83 rushing yards to our 99, and both of us had 44 attempts, so the same number of rushes in general.
Right.
But you remember that early on, they were having more success going up the middle, and they had more rushing yards than us, and the commentators made note of that. But I think I don't know if it was the defense just playing better or us making some adjustments coaching-wise, but we did kind of put that together better later on in the game. They really weren't getting anything going rushing-wise.
Right. Correct. Yes, that is correct. And I think it was us making some adjustments to some of the things that they were doing initially that were obviously confusing, and guys needing to see some things and get some coaching on it. And I think you're going to see that that's going to be the case quite regularly, especially early in the season. I would predict for the first 5 or 6 games, we're going to see that almost every week, that our defense is going to look like a sieve early. And I think the real measure of how well Shenander has been able to get his defense implemented into the team will be how quickly he can make the adjustments, because we're dealing with so many young players that are playing for the first time significant snaps. And I mean, I saw so many guys that, they were physically going where they were supposed to go, but they had no idea what to do when they got there. They didn't know how to position themselves to make a tackle. They were allowing linemen or players from the other team to block them when they shouldn't have, because they had the leverage, they had the angle, they did everything right except for the physical part. And so they need to get that done. And that's just being young. And so I believe we'll see improvement on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So. And another little detail there is that there were 3 separate times that we had 12 men out on the field defensively.
Yes.
And twice we got penalized for it. And one time we had to burn a timeout to avoid it.
Correct.
And that's with South Alabama not being like a fast-paced team either. So if we do play one of those later on, that'll definitely be something to look out for, I think.
Which we're going to play next week.
Well, there you go. Speaking of Colorado, do you think there's any credibility to the theories out there that Scott Frost kind of kept the offensive playbook a little bit conservative on purpose so that he wasn't showing too much and kind of saving some things for the Colorado game, knowing that that's going to be a tougher opponent?
I think coaches always do that. I think you always start the season with a lot of plays at your disposal. I mean, you've been practicing your whole playbook all through fall camp in general, right? You've been building it and implementing as much as you can, but there's always going to be some new wrinkles every week. So to say that there aren't new wrinkles, that would be inaccurate. But to say that he was holding back, I would say no. What I would say is I think Scott called a poor game. I think that he was trying to seek something that would allow Adrian to get comfortable and get into rhythm, and he couldn't find it. And so his play calling seemed a little erratic, like nothing was built on anything else because we couldn't get anything established. And so that was a challenge, because Adrian was struggling. It translated to Scott's play calling struggling as well, because you could kind of, I felt I was seeing Scott try to do things to help Adrian get going, but then they just none of it worked the way they thought it would. Like a lot of the actual play calls where they were called to be running plays were just so poorly executed that he had nothing. He had nowhere to go. He had nothing to do. There was nothing to set up the threat of the pass to where when he ran it, he would have some open ground to run. And so he was tackled pretty much at the line of scrimmage almost every time he ran the football.
Yeah. He actually had -6 total yards rushing
Right.
on the day, so not great
Right.
in that regard.
Yeah.
One bright spot, though we didn't get to shine maybe as much as we were hoping for, but Wan'Dale Robinson, he got 3 touches rushing it and 3 touches receiving the ball. And he definitely showed off some of his speed and that definite potential that he has. Honestly, I wish that they had gone to him a little bit more, given that we weren't having as much success with some of our other guys.
Right. Well, but again, I really would agree with you. But I'm glad that they got him some snaps and some touches. But I am more concerned about our running back Dedrick Mills' inability to get a hole or find the hole or do anything offensively as a running back. We'd gone into this thinking he was going to be our guy that could be the power back that would give us the ability to get those 3rd and shorts and stuff that are going to be so important to our offensive success, especially in the red zone. And hell, he couldn't do anything, nothing. And in fact, after the second half began and we started playing Mo Washington, things got better because of Mo's speed and his ability to go outside. Now, again, I would acknowledge that clearly the other team's focus was to basically squeeze the pocket on Martinez and to focus on the running game inside the tackles, because they recognize that they have athletes speed-wise that could match up with us speed-wise in most cases. The few exceptions being maybe Wan'Dale and Maurice Washington.
Right. Yeah, and those in terms of having that speed to get to the outside, we're going to be playing teams later in the season that have way more speed there than we do. So that isn't something that we can rely on against those better teams.
Exactly. So the bottom line is, to summarize, move on, is that this was a good first game for us and that it was a win. It was a good first game for us and that we came out of the game with lots to work on, but with some optimism and some areas where we clearly have shown that already that we may have made some progress from last year's team. But it didn't do anything to help our confidence and to put us in a position where we could start building momentum. So now that shifts to this week and this upcoming game against Colorado, and that now this is the game that has to help us build confidence. Yeah. And having watched Colorado, that might not be so easy. So anyway, that's kind of the in a nutshell. This is a throwaway game to some regards since we won it. It doesn't hurt us that much, and it taught us a lot.
Yep. Well, that is the hope that the coaches use this as a learning experience. Especially, I'm sure the offensive line got grilled in the video review afterwards in terms of their technique and stuff.
And I think Adrian is a strong enough, mentally strong enough player, athlete, and competitor that he is not going to have another bad game like that. That he's going to respond and play much better this coming week.
Agreed. All right. So moving on to the more national discussion, and like I mentioned, there were quite a few upsets by some of these lesser teams in week one. One that I kind of saw the highlights of and that was kind of as a kind of a fun story was Nevada beating Purdue 34-31. They were down by like 17 points, I think, with like 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and they managed to come back, tie it, and then go for a 56-yard field goal right at the end of the game with like their freshman no scholarship kicker who kicks the field goal, wins them the game, and then he gets a scholarship in the locker room afterwards. So it's just a good story there.
That is a good story. I didn't know the part about the scholarship. That's great. That's great.
Oh, I'll have to send it to you. There's a video of all of them celebrating in the locker room, and the coach gives him the game ball and says, "And you got a scholarship," and the whole locker room's like, "Oh!" So it's good.
That's cool. That is cool. I will look forward to that. But yeah, that was that's very disappointing, frankly, for the Big Ten and for Purdue. But it also seems to be a little bit of an Achilles heel of that team. They've been a team that's given up some pretty big leads here over the last couple of years, and kind of unexplainable, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll see what that translates to for them in future games.
Yep. And then probably the biggest upset was Tennessee losing to Georgia State 38-30. I believe Georgia State was like 20-point underdogs or something like that. So
yes, and Tennessee's a team that's recruited quite well. Obviously as an SEC Power 5 conference team, they are good or should be. Their talent level is every bit as high as ours, if not higher, if someone were to look at their recruiting rankings and that sort of thing. So for them to lose to Georgia State is a big deal. And now they're going to have to face the music a little bit, and some things could go really bad for them if they don't pull out of it. Now, they might very well respond to that and end up winning an awful lot of football games this year. It just depends on how they respond.
Mm-hmm. Now this is the second year of their coach, right?
No, I think he might be his third. It's Mark. It's what is his name? I can't remember his name, but you may be right. You're right. He did it at the same time as Scott Frost. Yes, because Tennessee wanted Scott Frost. So yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I remember the whole controversy around that coaching transition at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They tried to hire somebody, and then people were on an uproar about it was Greg Schiano, and because of his connection to Penn State, people got a little tizzied about it, and ultimately they backed away from Schiano and ended up with a different coach.
Yep. Very true. And then the other upset of note is Boise State beating Florida State 36-31. Now, this one's a little less surprising to me just because it feels like Boise State has an obligation to upset at least one bigger team a year. So, you just I kind of expect it from them at this point, but obviously a good start to the year for them.
Yes, I agree. And it was surprising too. Again, Florida State was the expected winner. They looked like they were going to win it, and then Boise kind of came back on them and controlled the game. Mm-hmm. At the end, I have no explanation. It's we're dealing with 18 to 23-year-old kids. That's the answer.
That's always the answer, isn't it?
Yes.
And then the big game of week one was rank 11 Oregon up against rank 16 Auburn. And Auburn ended up winning 27-21. I didn't see the game, but that result doesn't surprise me too much. I know, obviously, Auburn has so much talent down there in the SEC and all that, so I'm not surprised that they did well.
There is that, but I would tell you that Oregon is the more talented team, probably overall in terms of roster versus even Auburn, because Oregon has recruited crazy good over the last few years. And they were playing at home at Outson Stadium in Oregon, and early in the game they had a chance to blow the doors off of Auburn. They had the chance to win that game, going away, but they just fell just a little short. on some great opportunities, and that ended up really damaging their ability to close the deal. And then in the second half, it was like a different game. The first half, Oregon was having great success. The second half, Oregon couldn't do a damn thing. I mean, Auburn made adjustments defensively and just completely shut them down.
Mm. Wow. Well, there you go. And that's when you know you're playing a good team that can adjust like that so much at halftime
Exactly.
and correct the mistakes.
I question how good Auburn will be, though, when they get in the conference and stuff, because I think their quarterback is just okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's great, and I don't know that he's on the verge of being great. And so I think they're going to struggle a little bit offensively when they play, some of the best teams in their league.
Yep. All right. And then looking ahead to week 2, this upcoming week of college football, there are 2 games of pretty big note amongst the more lesser games going on. One is Clemson playing against Texas A&M, who's ranked or was ranked 12th. I'm not sure where they are on the new ranking. And then there's also LSU Texas, which will also be a good game.
Yes, that is 2 games involving SEC teams. And that Clemson Texas A&M game could be very interesting. I think that Clemson is way better, but it's still early in the season, and if Clemson has a few turnovers and things like that. Do you happen to know where that game's being played? Is that being played at A&M?
Let me take a look. I will get back to you momentarily.
Okay. Well, anyway, I would say that I would be more concerned about that being a serious, trap game, so to speak, if it was at A&M. But I'm not sure it is. I think it's actually at Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
We'll find out here as you figure that out. And then the other one you said was
LSU Texas.
LSU Texas. That's a huge game for, frankly, both of those teams.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those coaches have probably circled this game. I think that's going to be a war. I think both of those clubs, they're going to come out there knowing how important that game is, and I suspect that will be a must-see game.
Yeah. So the LSU game is at Texas, and the Clemson game is at Clemson.
Okay, it's at Clemson. Then I'm not as concerned about Clemson, being trapped in that situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel pretty good about Clemson's chances of beating Texas A&M. I agree that the Texas LSU game, though, that one's a little bit more of a toss up that I could see going either way for sure. Especially since it's at Texas. If it was at LSU, I might give the edge to LSU.
Yeah, I would agree. But I would say that from a coaching standpoint, I believe Texas is coach's best. So and since I don't know the teams that well, in terms of what I want to say, I don't know, the personnel on those teams well enough to make a really educated guess. My instinctive guess would be that I'm going to go with Texas's coaching staff and see what we get. But LSU has so much talent that they may just out talent them.
Mm-hmm.
And especially since it's at home for LSU.
Right. Yep. So those will be fun games to watch for sure. And these teams aren't ranked, but Stanford USC, that's always a big game in the Pac-12 to watch every year. I'm surprised that one's coming so early.
They're starting to do that same thing where they play some conference games before the traditional non-conference season is over. And that allows Stanford then to play a late season non-conference game against Notre Dame. And so that's kind of one of the things that drives that.
I see. Well, but I thought you were going to say, they get like an easier game, later on their schedule, but Notre Dame's not an easy game.
Yeah. No, and that's a traditional game. That's Stanford and Notre Dame playing each other for many, many years. And that's just one of those traditional rivalries that Notre Dame has established. And it's hard for people to step away from that. So even with all the changes in the last decade of, teams moving conferences and all that, there were certain relationships that Notre Dame clung to, and that's one of them is the Stanford Notre Dame game. Mm-hmm. But that's for later in the season. This game this week, though, will be really important.
Agreed. And then as our final preview that we're going to wrap up the conversation with, of course, it's got to be the Nebraska game. And in this case, it's us at Colorado, kind of the revenge match for our loss to them last year. So I know that, like you say, the coaches, I think, definitely have circled this game as an important one for our team. One interesting thing, Colorado played Colorado State last week and won the game 52-31. However, just looking at that scoreline isn't quite indicative of the game because I'm just looking at the score spread right now. And at halftime, Colorado was only up by 3, 24-21. Now, it looks like in the second half, they started to take control more and they scored, 28 points in the second half. But that goes to show that Colorado State was scoring on them a good bit in that first half and keeping pace with them.
Right. I would say that the first game that Colorado played was very much like ours in that they had some really good things that happened for them, and they had some things that they're probably very concerned about. Their defense did not look that stellar against Colorado State, and frankly, Colorado State missed some opportunities, or that game might have gone in their favor. So you're right that was a competitive football game for the majority of the game. But Colorado's receivers and offense in general looked very good. They have an outstanding quarterback, and everybody's been talking about the one Chenault guy that is a great receiver. But the fact is their entire receiving core looked really. I mean, they have lots of options from a passing offense standpoint. They struggled a little bit to run the football, especially early in the game, if I remember correctly. And I'm hoping that we can take advantage of that we'll be able to make them one-dimensional. But I saw enough weakness in our secondary and guys running wide open with South Alabama that I can realistically look at it and acknowledge that Nebraska is probably going to give up some points in this game, more than they did against South Alabama. So this is gonna be a score fest. We're gonna have to outscore them, and that's the big question mark now. Is I don't know where my confidence level should be with regard to Nebraska's offense.
Right.
So a game that I was probably 65% confident we were going to win, I now view as a 50-50 toss-up. Absolutely. Or maybe even a little less. Maybe it's 45 for us and 55 for them, because I didn't see any glaring weaknesses with them other than that in general, I just don't think their defense is that good. But offensively, Colorado was looking pretty damn good in their first outing, and Nebraska didn't look anything like I thought they were going to at any level. Offensive line, running the football, passing the football, Adrian Martinez, wide receivers, none of it was what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
So we've got a lot of question marks.
Right. Well, and like you said earlier, I think this game will be kind of the test of were those just kind of first game jitters and Adrian kind of being nervous and with the snaps not going well, if we could kind of get some of that stuff under control. And now we know that the team is going to be, they won't be, kind of looking over Colorado the way they might have with Alabama, South Alabama. They definitely want to beat this team. So I'm hoping that the coaching that they got this week and the focus that they have on this game is going to lead to greater offensive performance. And my hope would be that the defense will continue to play aggressive and try to read the passes, to get those interceptions like it happened in the South Alabama game.
Yep.
Because I think that could be the turning point if both offenses are kind of scoring at will on each other. But if our defense can get one pick six, then that might be the turning point that we need.
Right. Well, I can tell you that I think Colorado smells the blood in the water. I think I'm sure that given the fact that they played their game earlier in the week, they've had an extra day to prepare than we did because of when they played their game. And they all watched that Nebraska game, and they are like sharks with blood in the water. They now probably feel more confident than they ever did that they were going to be able to pull this off, and I think their fans feel that way as well. And I think Nebraska and Nebraska's fans are going to be in for a very hostile environment when they go to Boulder this week, and we better respond with lots of efficiency early, lots of success offensively early, or I could see us getting into a very difficult pressure situation where we fall behind by 14 or more points. And now we're playing catch up the whole game. And it might be a little bit like some of the games last year where we just fell behind so much that by the time we maybe made adjustments and figured it out a little bit, we don't have enough time to catch up.
Right.
And so my thing for Nebraska is we've got to come out and have success early, offensively, particularly Adrian, and our center has to snap the ball properly. We can't have any screw ups on that. If we have that carryover, I'm telling you, it's not going to be pretty. I think Nebraska might lay an egg. I am very, very concerned now about this game.
Yeah. Yes, well, I'm definitely concerned too. I think you could kind of tell just with the energy in the stadium. There was a lot of kind of silence. As we went
Absolutely.
3 and out so many times, or even like I remember there was one time where our defense got a pick, and it was like we had good field position, and we just went 3 and out and punted it. And it's like, oh well, that's a missed opportunity, to kind of put this team away. So those are the sorts of things that if we get those sorts of opportunities, the offense has to capitalize on them for sure.
Exactly. And it all starts up front. It starts with that center being able to play the way he's supposed to be able to play. He's got to snap the ball properly. He's got to be able to block reasonably well. We have to give him some help. They may have to change up some blocking schemes to put a lot more double teaming on the nose guard so that that center has a little bit of an easier time, an easier assignment, so he can focus on getting that damn snap. Okay, and that's going to then open up the possibility of other players defensively being unblocked, or we're going to have to scrape off, and there's just things we can try to do, but it's a compromise. But we have to do that because you got to get the snap. You got to get the snap, and if we can't get that, we're going to struggle. If we can, and Adrian is over whatever it was that was bothering him so much, whether it was the snaps or whatever, then we have more talent than they do. I think we have more ways to score than they do, but our defense is better than it. So there you go. So I'm still believing that we can win the football game. I just think it's going to take more of an effort than I thought it was going to have to take, and there's certain fundamental things we have to get done.
All right. So what is your score prediction for the game then?
Okay. Like I said, I think it's going to be high scoring. I think we're going to have to score 42 points, and I'm going to say it's going to be like 42 to 38.
All right. Cool. I'm going to go a little bit lower. I'm going to say 38 for us and 35 for Colorado.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, and I am predicting Nebraska victory, but I'm tentative on that. I just wish they would have shown me that they had their shit together. It just really, really bothers me what I saw last Saturday from the standpoint that it's just so much different than what we were hearing, from the coaches. And that's where I think Scott needs to grow as a coach, that he needs to manage those expectations. He's got to have a better feel for what he's got. Now, he says, well, that didn't look like the team that I saw practice in all fall. Well, you need to know the difference between what you're seeing in fall camp, and you need to understand that in fall camp, guys aren't being tackled down to the ground and those kinds of things. So that's a big deal.
Yep, very true. Do you want to do a prediction for that LSU-Texas game as well?
Sure. Okay, so the LSU-Texas game. I'm gonna go with LSU because do you know when that's being? Well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go with LSU because they're playing at home. It's probably a night game, but even if it's just an afternoon game, did you hear me?
Well, no, I did. But as a reminder, it's actually at Texas. It's a Texas game.
It's at Texas. Oh, I thought it was at LSU. Oh.
Yeah. Personally, I'm still going to go LSU, but I think that makes it more interesting.
Yeah, it does. You know what? Then I won't. Early in the season, I think home field means more. I'm going to go Texas in the upset. Close game, probably low scoring because they've got a lot of defensive talent at LSU. So I'm going to call it 21-17 Texas.
All right. That's a good prediction. I'm going to go with LSU. Let's say 28 LSU and 21 Texas. We'll go with that.
All righty. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. It's going to be a good weekend of college football. I think there's some good games, and I think it should be. I just think this season's gonna. It's already started out really good, and I'm looking forward to these next few weeks. There's a lot of great games out here in the near future.
That's right. It's good to be back. That's for sure.
Exactly. We just need, I feel an intensity. Just going through this discussion, I feel an intensity. I want to punch a wall. I just want to go block somebody. I'm serious because I'm just so fired up, and I'm kind of my anger is stirred because of how crappy Nebraska played and how much it frustrates me that they didn't produce the way they were supposed to produce based on my expectation. So I know that means nothing as far as the coaches or any of that stuff, but it definitely has me fired.
I am curious because you watched the game with AJ on Saturday, right?
Yes.
How were you two just both down in the dumps for most of the game?
I was Mr. Positive. I know I haven't sounded like it on this podcast, but I was Mr. Positive. AJ was ready to just throw the baby out with the bathwater, as he usually is. He wants everything to be perfect, and anything short of perfect, and the guy sucks. And so he has a very high standard for Nebraska football. Right. That's for sure.
Right. Well,
so it was fun. It was fun nonetheless.
As I was re-listening to the old podcast, he was saying if they score more than 14 points on us, I'm getting concerned, and we got to be putting at least 50 on them. And that definitely did not play out.
It didn't. You're exactly right.
So, all right. Well, if you guys out there enjoyed listening to this podcast, you can find us online at footballthrowdown.podomatic.com. You can find us also on Apple Podcasts and iTunes if you search College Football Throwdown. You can leave us a rating or review there. We always like hearing back from the fans. Getting constructive criticism is always appreciated. And you can email us at huskerpete13@gmail.com if you want to write in your email to be read on the show, which we will always do, of course. So thank you all very much for listening. Thank you for hosting with me, Dad. And until next week, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.